Tell us your name and tell us about your project. My name is Leon Foucault, and my experiment has been called Foucault's pendulum. The idea behind it was to prove tangibly that the Earth rotates, and I finished making this and I produced it in 1851. And the simple idea behind the experiment was it was a large pendulum with a 67-meter rope and a lead end meant to show by its rotational swinging that the Earth rotates. What were you guys trying to do or find? I was trying to find something more tangible to demonstrate the Earth's rotation. People as far back as the ancient Greeks had suspected that the Earth rotated, but in my time there was still a lot of skepticism about how it might just be that space and the stars were rotating around Earth, and there wasn't too much good evidence to show directly that the Earth itself was rotating. Where did the project or experiment occur? The first demonstration was in the Paris Observatory in February of 1851, but I showed it in the Paris Pantheon a couple weeks later, and that's where it really became popular. At that location, it had a lot more reception, and I showed it with sand under it to show the streaks of the pendulum to show that it rotates. What other significant events were happening around the world at that time? So Los Angeles and San Francisco were incorporated, and California became a state. Just previously, a bridge in France collapsed with almost 500 soldiers on it, and it killed about half of them. And the Taiping Rebellion had begun, which lasted about 14 years, and there were over 3.2 million slaves in America. Who else was involved in the project? No one else was involved in the project. I started it in my basement, and it was actually not very positive reception from the scientific community because they didn't like that I'd made such a big discovery without their more traditional means or training. What was your role in the project? So I did the whole project, and again, the goal of it was to demonstrate the Earth's rotation with something more tangible. And so when I showed it in the Paris Pantheon, I put it over sand so that people could see directly, just by looking at the sand after the course of hours, that the pendulum was rotated. And I calculated how much it should be rotating by and explained about how the Earth's rotation was causing the pendulum's otherwise unexplainable rotation over the sand. What impact did your project have on the physics community? So my project showed that the Earth rotated, and as soon as I made my presentation, it was popular, and they were all around Europe. People were making replicas of my experiment, and still today they're all over science museums and even some universities because it was that groundbreaking of a discovery, especially because in my time, before people went to the moon, it was a lot harder to know something about Earth's rotation. What other scientific work or discoveries are you credited with, and how are you remembered today? I came up with an estimate for the speed of the light that was within a 5% margin of error, using a laser, a beam splitter, and 2 mirrors. After the pendulum demonstration, I named the gyroscope because I was also using that as a different way to show the Earth's rotation. And because of my significance in the scientific world, I'm one of the 72 names that are inscribed on the Eiffel Tower.